All right, we're rolling. I look a little crazy. I've got exactly one take to do this because if it looks like I'm in a bunker in communist Russia, it's because I'm in a basement in communist Canada. I'm joking, people. I love my homeland. I just feel like I've stepped back into the asylum crossing the border here. We've done it. We flew from Florida to Montreal. And holy cow, it's almost 6 o'clock. We left at 7 o'clock this morning. That's 11 hours door to door. Even when travel is smooth, and it was relatively smooth, it's still a big pain in the neck. Holy crab apples. But we're going to take a break from what I've been calling it the Colorado Kangaroo Court. We're taking a break from the Colorado Kangaroo Court, and we're heading straight up to Commie Canada for the Toronto Sun. It's a paper out of Toronto, Ontario, as you can guess by the name, bending the knee, apologizing for, wait for it, a political cartoon that they published earlier this week, which depicted Volodymyr Zelensky, Ukraine's Jewish president, and I'm not picking on the Jewish part just to identify identity politics. It's critical and central to the story. Volodymyr Zelensky, for those of you who don't know, apparently he's Jewish. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people do know that. Whatever. Depicting Ukraine's president Volodymyr Zelensky as a pickpocketing Joe Biden from the back pocket when he's, coming around asking for more Western aid for the war in Ukraine against Russia. The cartoon, if you haven't seen it, I'll flash a screen grab so you can see it right now, depicted Volodymyr Zelensky as pickpocketing Joe Biden. Okay. It's a political cartoon, which means it's something of a caricature, like they caricaturize the characters, which means they exaggerate certain features. One of the features was Volodymyr Zelensky's nose. And shortly after publication, the war pigs, the war whores from across the country were screaming, crying, you guessed it, anti-Semitism. From Gropey McGropestein, Mr. Blackface himself, Justin Trudeau criticizes Toronto Sun newspaper over, quote, anti-Semitic content. And from Andrew Coyne, what the hell was the Sun thinking? Not just anti-Semitic, but parroting Trumpist Russian propaganda at the same time. Appalling. From the CIJA, one of the most prominent anti-Semitic stereotypes is that Jews are greedy. A second is that of the Jewish nose. Anti-Semitism, why? Because the political cartoon, which is predicated on caricaturizing the characters, depicted Volodymyr Zelensky as having a bigger nose, bigger than I guess in real life, hence caricaturizing, and pickpocketing Joe Biden, and people are like, those are the two most stereotypically anti-Semitic tropes, that Jews have big noses and Jews are greedy. It's anti-Semitic, and they were loud and vocal about it, so much so that the Toronto Sun bent the knee, bent over and apologized. And I'm going to read their apology in a second. I just want to highlight the absurdity of this entire story. I was going out on Twitter and maybe being a little too sassy with people saying, yo, dumbasses, if you look at someone who has a big nose and immediately think Jew, you're the anti-Semite. Volodymyr Zelensky is Jewish. The cartoon was not depicting a random Jew with a big nose. It was caricaturizing Volodymyr Zelensky, who happens to be Jewish, who happens to be fleecing the West, Canada, and the US taxpayer dollars so that we can fund this proxy war against Russia to the tune of what? I don't know, collectively hundreds of billions of dollars of Canadian and American taxpayer dollars going to fund this proxy war. Whether or not it's Zelensky pickpocketing Joe Biden or Zelensky and Biden pickpocketing the American taxpayers, Zelensky and Trudeau pickpocketing the Canadian taxpayer, someone's getting pickpocketed at the end of the day, and it's the taxpayer. But people say, oh my goodness, this caricature. They exaggerated the nose and they made him look like a thief. Those are two anti-Semitic tropes. I stand by this. If you look at someone who has a big nose, and you say, big nose, Jew, you're the anti-Semite. And to illustrate my point, I went and pulled out some political cartoons from the Globe and Mail, depicting Justin Trudeau, Jagmeet Singh, the NDP. And I highlighted the fact that, my goodness, in all of these caricatures, Justin Trudeau's got an awfully big nose. Jagmeet Singh has an awfully big nose. The other members of the NDP in the backdrop have awfully big noses because caricatures caricaturize and exaggerate features as a practice. And if you look at Justin Trudeau's big nose and you don't think Jew because you know that he's not a Jew. If you look at Jagmeet Singh's caricaturized political cartoon big nose and you don't say anti-Semitism, well then it's not the element per se, it's how you associate that element with the individual. And if you look at someone who you know is Jewish and look to their nose, you're the anti-Semite. But, okay, people started screaming, complaining, crying, because that's what they do. They don't like people criticizing their sacred cows. Apparently Volodymyr Zelensky has achieved godlike status. He cannot be mocked. His physical appearance cannot be mocked. You cannot even make a physical graphical representation of Volodymyr Zelensky. He has achieved the status of deity, of God, modern day untouchable God.
You ask me if I have a God complex? Let me tell you something. I am God.
He's a sacred cow, as we say in Quebec. Vache sacrée? Vache? Oh, you know what it is, the vache sacrée. The sacred cow. The Toronto Sun issued the following apology after outrage. And when you see this, you're going to understand that you should not read the Toronto Sun. And I read, take my glasses off. The Sun apologizes for cartoon, but just so you understand, this is the Sun reporting on the Sun. Sun apologizes for cartoon. Earlier this week, we ran a cartoon depicting Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky picking the pocket of US President Joe Biden. Can you imagine that? I'll get to my other punchline of this. That's what they said. The cartoon did not meet our editorial standards. We were wrong to run it, and we apologize. You cowards. You shameless cowards. It was a political, satirical cartoon. That's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to poke fun at the politics. It's supposed to exaggerate as far as characterizing goes, and it's supposed to be remorseless in its insightful observations. Yeah, a lot of people feel that Zelensky is either fleecing Biden or Zelensky and Biden are fleecing the American people. That Zelensky is fleecing Trudeau or Zelensky and Trudeau are fleecing Canadians. I go on. It falsely implied American aid to Ukraine involves theft. I'm sorry, did you not see that report from, what was it, CBS, NBC, 60, I forget which one. Only 30% of the aid is reaching the end line. They had to edit that documentary and, redo it because it made Ukraine look like the corrupt institution that it is.
All this stuff goes to the border, and then kind of like something happens, it kind of like 30% maybe reaches its final destination.
It falsely implied American aid to Ukraine involves theft. I don't think that's false. I don't think it should be implied. I think it should be overtly stated. It's theft from taxpayers. You imagine the amount of money they've lost going to Ukraine. Could have rebuilt Lahaina in Hawaii after the fires. The amount that they've lost, miscalculated. Hundreds of billions, while East Palestine in I think it's Ohio, still in shambles. Lahaina, in shambles. $700 one-time payment to Hawaiian residents. All they have to do is say they're Ukrainian, you'll get endless funding. It was hurtful to Canadians of Ukrainian origin and to all Ukrainians fighting an existential struggle against Russian aggression. Bend the knee, Toronto Sun. Bend it and bend over while you're at it, because that's what you just did. It also used anti-Semitic stereotypes in its depiction of Zelensky. I'll say this, there are Jews who are greedy and there are Jews who are benevolent. There are Jews who have certain facial features and there are Jews who do not. The fact that anyone would instinctively associate a big nose with a Jew or a big nose being anti-Semitic because the person who's depicted is a Jew, you're the anti-Semite, period. You don't look at Justin Trudeau's pictures and say, oh, that's so anti-Semitic, because you know he's not Jewish. But when you know the person is Jewish, then he becomes anti-Semitic, you're the anti-Semite. You're the one harboring these stereotypical tropes. But it goes on. It was hurtful to Canadians of Jewish origin. Hey, are you talking for me?
You talking to me?
No, it wasn't. It was an astutely observed cartoon. And the fact that you apologize for it is more hurtful to me. Who the hell gave the Toronto Sun the permission to talk for Canadian Jews? I didn't. And the Jewish people currently under assault from a global wave of anti-Semitism. You know what exacerbates anti-Semitism? This very thing. The idea that Jewish leaders should be untouchable because they're Jewish, that exacerbates anti-Semitism. Sorry to be painfully obvious here, people. Oh, and don't apologize for me. Don't speak for me, the Toronto Sun. You don't speak for me. Don't even have the audacity to purport to speak for a group of people.
How dare you?
You don't speak for a group, and you apologizing for me exacerbates anti-Semitism. I can guarantee you that much. We failed them, and we failed all of you, our readers. Wait, they're not done groveling yet. Why? Sanctions. The syndicated cartoonist behind the cartoon will no longer run in our newspaper. You published the cartoon. You get backlash for it, and now you cut the cartoonist because of your decision to run it? Cowards. Shameless cowards is what you are. We promise to do better in the future. Well, you're off to a bad start, Toronto Sun. So that's it. That's cancel culture, people. When getting fired or being forced to resign as president of a university because you refuse to categorically acknowledge that overt calls for genocide against any group violates a university's policies for bullying and harassment, yeah, you deserve to lose your job. A political cartoonist making a caricature political cartoon criticizing the politics of the time, and you fire him because a vocal minority of people say anti-Semitism. And by the way, as far as I can tell, a lot of them seem to be white knighting for Jews, because I didn't notice all that many Jewish people actually screaming anti-Semitism about that cartoon. You're off to the bad start, Toronto Sun. Terrible. All right, well, that's it. I think, okay, good. I got to go upstairs because I got to get out of the basement, go up and pour myself a nice dry martini to disinfect from all the germs. Oh, my goodness. We're on a plane. And you can hear the kids that are screaming, crying because of the sinuses are crackling up because of the change in pressure. And you hear these babies coughing. Oh. Anyhow, I'm going to go take a sip of martini and also disinfect the inside of my nostrils with it. What day is it today? It's Friday. So tomorrow, as of the time of shooting this, I will go live with Pentelis. It's going to be like a live on both of our channels, so stay tuned for that. Sunday, Christmas Eve, I'll do something just so we, stay connected on the Sunday, but Merry Christmas in advance to all of you. And stay tuned for next week. Big stuff coming up, and I will be live streaming it as much as possible. Although I will not be in my studio, I'll be in a basement in Commie Canada. All right, everybody. You know what to do. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, blah, 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 blah. Peace out, peeps. Booyah. When we are born, we cry that we are come to this great stage of fools. William Shakespeare. I'm in the kitchen with my mother. We got to have dinner now. Thank you all for watching. Peace out, peeps.